If Andrew Huberman designed a calisthenics routine, what would it look like? What is the best protocol for maximum progress? How many reps? How many sets? What exercises? How many times per week should we be training?
I'm Andrew Huberman, and I'm a professor of neurobiology and ophthalmology at Stanford School of Medicine.
In this video, I'm going to dissect a conversation between Andrew Huberman and Dr Andy Galpin, and we're going to extract the key information and apply it to calisthenics. It's a 4.5 hour long conversation, and in this video, I just want to extract the key components so you can apply it to a calisthenics training routine. If you want to listen to the full episode yourself, I've left a link in the description below, and that's linked to Huberman's YouTube channel. Okay, I'm going to break this video into 4 parts. Training for strength in calisthenics, training for hypertrophy in calisthenics, training for both, and we'll briefly touch on nutrition and supplements at the end of the video as well. Training for strength in calisthenics. So if you want to learn any calisthenics skills, which I think if you're on this channel, you probably do, you're going to have to get stronger. You can't really do calisthenics and be weak, unfortunately. There's a concept that they touch on in the podcast, which I really love. It's the 3 to 5 concept. And this concept is specifically designed to be applied to a strength training routine. And it looks like this: 3 to 5 reps, 3 to 5 sets, 3 to 5 exercises, 3 to 5 minute rest intervals, 3 to 5 days per week. So let's apply this to a training routine. As you can imagine, this was originally designed for a weight training routine, and at the most basic level, it would be for bench, squat and deadlift. But if we want to apply this to calisthenics, we need to be smart with our goals. I always recommend having 3 calisthenics goals at any one time: a pulling movement, pushing movement, and a legs movement. Say we have 3 goals: 1 arm chin up, handstand push up, and a pistol squat. At the most basic level, if you were doing a full body split 3 times a week, it would look like this. Day 1, 3 sets of 3 reps of band assisted 1-arm pull-ups on each side, 3 sets of 3 reps of wall handstand push-up, 3 sets of assisted pistol squats, for example using wall. And you would simply repeat this workout 3 times per week. Please bear in mind that this is 3 working sets, so we don't include warm-up sets within this 3. And being warmed up is defined as when you can achieve maximal work output. And as we find that 3x3 workout easier and easier, we need a way to progressively overload from the weeks to the months. And this isn't as easy in calisthenics because we can't just add weights. But what we can do is we can increase the number of reps and sets. So say we're doing 3x3, we can increase it to 4 reps of 3 sets, and eventually 5 reps of 3 sets, and then adding sets, so doing 4 reps of 4, and then 5 reps of 5. You want to progress, so you're eventually doing more reps and more sets, all the way up to 5. Once you get to 5, you don't want to get any further for strength training. But what if we already are at the 5x5? What we do then is we need to find ways to make it harder for ourselves in calisthenics. And if you do have access to weight, you can add weight. So for example, using a weight belt, or you can remove resistance. So for example, if you were doing a 1-arm pull, using a band for assistance, you can use a lighter band. If you were doing handstand push-ups, for example, you could add a weighted vest, or you could change the range of motion so that you're doing a deeper handstand push-up. If you're doing pistols, you could hold a dumbbell in front of you or a weight in front of you. I want to emphasize here again the importance of the 3 to 5 minute rest. And I've talked about this in other videos. For example, my 1-arm chin-up tutorial, which you can see there if you click on that link. Oh, sorry, actually up there. Basically, you may not feel tired like you do after longer sets. You may not get that pump, but you need to give your body time to recover. You need your nervous system and your muscles to recover between sets. 3 to 5 minutes is the minimum that you need to achieve that. So how long does one continue to do this routine? Dr Galpin talks about how powerlifters will do pretty much the same exercises week to week, making very small adjustments to their exercises. So for example, adjusting the width of their bench press. He says ideally we shouldn't change the exercises for at least 6 weeks, and even better would be something like 10 weeks. And the reason for this is that we can't progressively overload if we're changing the exercises from week to week. We don't ever really know if we're getting better at them if we keep changing them. So what would this look like in calisthenics? So we'd mostly be keeping our exercises the same, but if we wanted to make small adjustments, we could, for example, change the width of our hands in a handstand push-up. We could change using the floor or using parallettes. And like in powerlifting, we can change the range of motion. So for example, doing deep handstand push-ups instead of normal handstand push-ups. Okay, so we've talked about training for strength. What about training for hypertrophy? And a question which you may have is, can I train for strength and hypertrophy at the same time? And that's something I do cover in the episode. And the quick answer is yes, you can. However, if you truly wanted to maximize strength, you do nothing other than the strength routine. How are they making so much noise? Oh shit, it's filming. Okay. Training for hypertrophy and calisthenics. Let's say your goals are for hypertrophy with calisthenics only. For example, you don't have a gym and all you have is a bar and some dip bars, for example. With hypertrophy training, in contrast to strength training, you have a much broader rep range. Your rep range can vary from anywhere between 4 and 30 reps, which is counter to the typical 8 to 12 hypertrophy stuff that you usually hear. And speaking from experience, I noticed when I started to train for more endurance training, for example for pull-up competitions, etc., I did notice a gain in muscle, which I was quite surprised about because I thought I was training for endurance only. I thought if I was doing 30 pull-ups or hundreds of reps per workout that I would just be training endurance and not muscular hypertrophy. There's something that they actually touch in this episode is there is such a broad rep range. Up to 30 reps will be conducive to hypertrophy, and that's pretty interesting. So what exercises should we be doing for hypertrophy? In bodybuilding with weights, there's usually a lot more exercise choice to pick from. And we're a bit more limited in calisthenics, so we have to be somewhat more creative. A typical bro bodybuilding split would be back and bis, chest and tris, and legs. However, in calisthenics, we tend to think of movement patterns rather than specific muscle groups. And to put it very simply, we have push, pull, and legs. And we can further divide each of those categories, particularly for the upper body. For our pushing movements, we have a horizontal push and a vertical push. For our pulling movements, we have a horizontal pull and a vertical pull. And you can also divide that into straight arm and bent arm strength. But for the purposes of hypertrophy, straight arm training in calisthenics doesn't translate that well to inducing bigger muscle size. And then of course we have legs. For many years I trained legs with calisthenics only, and I was very happy with the results. However, it has to be said that if you want big legs, calisthenics alone won't be enough. If you want lean, strong, useful, explosive legs, then calisthenics is plenty. The issue with calisthenics leg training is there is a limited number of exercises you can do for training legs in calisthenics. Taking the bodyweight squat, for example, there's just not enough resistance to provide the necessary stimulus. A lot of people will find it easy to do over 30 reps of bodyweight squat, and this takes us away from muscular hypertrophy into more of a muscular endurance / cardiovascular work. Pistol squats are a good way of getting around this, but they're just as much a exercise in mobility and balance as they are in building muscle. So unfortunately, there's no way around this. If you want big legs, you're going to have to add some extra weight. However, if you want lean, strong, explosive and useful legs, then calisthenics training will be plenty. Okay, so how can we induce hypertrophy? The main driver of hypertrophy is volume, and the volume essentially is the number of reps times the number of sets. And a good way to look at this is your weekly total volume. Dr. Galpin's recommendation is a minimum of 10 working sets per week for each muscle group. And if you're an advanced athlete, then 15 to 20 working sets per week. He mentions that it's easier for the general population to get the weekly total volume in by doing full body workouts. And that's because you hit the same muscle group multiple times per week. If you're doing a split, you may only be doing that muscle group once per week, which isn't enough. So if we're to do a full body calisthenics routine, what would it look like? So at the most basic level, we'd have 3 sets of pull-ups, 3 sets of dips, 3 sets of pistols or assisted pistols, and we do this exact same workout 3 times per week. This would give us a total of 9 sets per muscle group or per movement pattern. But remember, if we want to hit that 10 weekly set target, we'll need to do 4 sets on one of those days. And if you're a beginner and you do this routine, I guarantee that you will put on some muscle, provided that you're progressively overloading. So for example, doing more reps or sets week to week. And you'll make progress even without adding any weight. And remember, our hypertrophy sets are anywhere from between 4 and 30 reps. So there's a large rep range there. There is a caveat, and that's that there's an assumption that towards the end of the set, you're getting close to failure. and by the last set of the day, you're getting to failure. So we've talked about rest in strength training. Let's talk about rest in hypertrophy training. So we said the rest in strength training was 3 to 5 minutes, and in hypertrophy, we tend to shorten that rest period. The gold standard has always been 30 to 90 seconds. More research is coming out recently indicating that a longer rest period is actually beneficial, and you can be resting up to 3 to 5 minutes in hypertrophy training as well, because a longer rest equals less metabolic stress. But Dr. Galpin recommends 2 minutes rest between each set, and that's a nice in-between programming for strength and hypertrophy in calisthenics. Now, I think this will interest most people. Most people want to gain calisthenics skills, they want to get stronger. They also want to put on a bit of muscle as well. And we can train for both at the same time. But like I said earlier in the video, the more specific you are with your goals, the more likely and the quicker you will reach them. You can definitely train for both at the same time, but you may find that your hypertrophy work will impede your recovery of your strength work. You'll be feeling more fatigued, your muscles will be more sore, and it'll be harder to do your strength work as well. But if you want to do both, I'd recommend doing your strength training first and then your hypertrophy training afterwards. You can do them on the same days, or you can do them on separate days if you wish. So what would the hybrid workout look like? If we combine the strength routine and the hypertrophy routine, and we'll put them together to create a hybrid workout. So let's assume we have the same strength goals from the strength workout. That's the one-arm chin-up or one-arm pull-up, the handstand push-up, and pistol squat. So we divide our split into 6 days. Day 1, pull. Day 2, push. Day 3, legs and push strength move. Day 4, pull. Day 5, push. Day 6, legs plus pull strength move. And day 7, rest. So on day 1, our pull day, we'll be doing 3 sets of band assisted one-arm pull-ups on each side, followed by 5 sets of pull-ups. On day 2, push, we do 3 sets of handstand push-up, followed by 5 sets of dips. On day 3, legs plus push strength move, 3 sets of pistols each side, 5 sets of something like shrimp squats or assisted pistols, 3 sets of handstand push-up. Day 4, 3 sets of one-arm chin or one-arm pull work, and then 5 sets of rows, so we're doing horizontal pulling. Day 5, push, 3 sets of handstand push-ups or equivalent exercise, and then 5 sets of push-ups, so horizontal pushing. So day 6, legs plus pull strength move, do 3 sets of pistols, 5 sets of shrimps or other leg exercise, and then 3 sets of one-arm chin work. And then day 7 we would rest. So from this week we've achieved 3 days of the week of our push, pull and strength and leg strength move, and 10 sets of hypertrophy work for each muscle group or movement pattern. Problem with this routine, there are some back-to-back days of strength work. If you notice, we're doing handstand push-up strength work 2 days in a row. But unfortunately, if you want to do both, that's the only way to get the weekly volume in. And remember, this isn't the only way to do it. You can do your hypertrophy and your strength on separate days. And if you prefer, you don't even need to separate your sets between strength and hypertrophy. So if we're looking at below 5 for strength and anywhere from 4 to 30 for hypertrophy, if we keep our rep range between 4 and 8, we're hitting an in-between, so we're hitting hypertrophy and strength. And if you want to get stronger without hypertrophy, just limit your reps to be less than 5 and just make sure you're not eating excessive calories, as you won't have the fuel to build the muscles. Which leads me nicely on to the next part of the video, which is nutrition and supplements. Let's talk about protein. So people who go to the gym love protein, and there used to be this big misnomer that you had to eat protein post-workout, otherwise you're not going to build any muscle. And essentially they touch in this episode that feeding window is out the window. So we can eat our protein at any time of day. They basically say that the timing of our protein is irrelevant. However, our timing of carbs is still important. And ideally we should be having our carbs pre, mid and post-workout. When it comes to protein quantity, they recommend 2.2 grams of protein per kilo of body weight, and they do change the ratio of protein to carbs depending if you're training for strength or for hypertrophy. So for strength, they recommend a 1-to-1 protein to carb ratio, and for hypertrophy, they recommend a 1-to-2 protein to carb ratio. So actually having 1 gram of protein for every 2 grams of carbs, which may be counterintuitive to what you've heard before, but we need the carbs to fuel our muscles and to give us energy to work out. The protein just allows us to synthesize amino acids, or the building blocks of our muscles. And last but not least, supplements. are there any supplements you can take to improve your calisthenics progress? And there's only one supplement they really recommend, and that's creatine. It's the most well-studied and effective supplement we know of, and it's the only supplement that I take alongside some fish oil. And not only is it useful in physical work, but it's shown to have some benefits in cognitive function, shown to be protective against some neurological disorders. It's also been shown to increase bone mineral density in some research. There's the most evidence for creatine monohydrate as a supplement. And like protein, the timing is irrelevant, so you can have it any time of day. I take mine around 7 PM after dinner, just so I remember to take it. I'm not going to go too much into supplements in this video, but if you do want me to make another video about supplements and supplements I take, just make a comment in the comment below. I answer all the comments. Again, thank you for watching to the end of the video. I hope you got something out of it. I'll get to your comment and I'll see you in the next video.